Welcome to TRP, everybody. Once again, I'm joined by Kingston, Ontario's own the Abrams, who for the past 2 decades have been among the leaders in Canada's country music and bluegrass music, roots rock, call it what you want, of this country's charge in that genre. They have a new EP coming out later this summer and a new single available now, appropriately called Something New. Welcome, John and James, the Abrams. Welcome to the record player, guys.
Oh,
I lost you there for a minute. You froze.
sorry. Okay, we're still here.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
we can hear you.
We still got you. All right. You know what, guys?
Yeah. How are you doing, man? We were just asking you, what's going on there, and how's your summer going?
Our summer is going fantastic. It's raining here right now, which explains the extra curls. Uh, but you guys are in Denver, right? In a hotel room in Denver. You played there last night, if I'm not mistaken. First day on the tour.
That's right. We were at the Levitt Pavilion, and it was our first show on the tour, and it was really, really nice to get the tour started. The Something New tour, right, John?
Yeah, this is our first. So we were in the UK to sort of do the first leg of the Something New tour over in the UK just about a month ago, and but this is our first really substantial, like 16 show tour after COVID and after having not been able to be on the road as much. And James and I mean, we grew up touring and have been touring since we were 9 and 11 years old. So it was really quite different for us not being able to be out on the road across North America and doing what we do. So being back here and kicking it off in Denver last night was even more refreshing than we imagined. I mean, just being able to get back into this city and get started again with the Rocky Mountains in the background and playing in an incredible venue. It really lifted our spirits being able to be back at it.
I've been to Denver and to Colorado and that area. Is it true that, I mean, I felt it when I went to an outdoor show there. The air, I mean, you got to be ready for that, right? It does affect you on stage, doesn't it?
Yeah, there was actually a couple of members in our band that had mentioned when we were coming into Denver that they were asking, "Is anybody else sort of feeling it a little bit?" Of course, because the Mile High City, right? So it for us, John maybe can speak for himself, but it was a bit of an adjustment, especially just physically, right? Because we're pretty energetic on stage, and there's lots of fiddling
Yeah.
and picking and singing and stuff, and so you can feel it a little bit, right, John?
Yeah, it was also like mid 90s in temperature here, so mid 30s in our temperature, and so it was totally super hot on stage, and it was just the sun being down on us. So if there was a first kind of test to see how we were going to be able to have stamina for a new tour after COVID, and I think we passed it last night. It definitely felt like, okay, we're sweating. We had sunscreen pouring into our eyes, like just because we were like we knew we couldn't go on stage without sunscreen. And but like when you have people dancing in front of the stage and singing your songs in Denver and stuff that you've written and you just see how the things that you come up with in your living room or you come up with in a writer's room in Nashville with some friends, how they just start to ripple out to different parts of the world and make an impact. It's really encouraging to get going on that again.
Are they still celebrating their cup? Couple of Canadian boys in Denver. Are they still
I
celebrating?
saw several. Yes, good question. I saw several T-shirts, Stanley Cup T-shirts, and so I haven't made any comments to any Colorado fans yet, but I silently went, "Good for you." You know,
A lot
you
of
deserve
flags,
it.
a
You
lot of
deserve it.
flags
It's
too.
been a while.
Yeah,
It's been a while.
It's very true. I remember the last time was great, but no, there's a lot of. I don't know if you noticed, but like all along these suburbs here, just like flag after flag after flag of the Avalanche. It's just hey, fair enough. Good power to them.
That's what we like to see. I mentioned in the intro that you guys have been doing this for 2 decades. I mean, you guys you were like handed guitars out of the womb. I mean, you guys are like so young looking. To be doing this long, what has changed in the Canadian music industry? I mean, obviously the streaming and all that type of thing has changed, but for you guys doing what you do, what's changed in the 2 decades that you've been doing this?
Yeah, I mean, well, for us personally, we grew up playing bluegrass and old time gospel music and old time country music with our family. And so we really got our start touring with the family band
Right.
down south in the US, playing all the bluegrass festivals in, Tennessee and Kentucky and Virginia, North Carolina, all over. And we made our first two records in the Shenandoah Valley in the Blue Ridge Mountains in Virginia. And that's really where we cut our teeth. But we certainly spent a lot of time in Canada, out to Alberta and all across Ontario, down east playing as kids. So for us personally, there's been a gradual evolution in the way that we play our music from bluegrass music, and then carrying those roots with us, the brother harmonies, the fiddle and banjo, and acoustic flat picking style, and bringing that in through. There were a number of years there we were playing more folk rock, roots rock, and then really dove headfirst into country within the last 10 years, and started writing a lot as more contemporary country artists, and have really loved that home for us, both as writers and as musicians. It's just a great kind of it captures all of our past history in one beautiful big genre. And so the difference in venue has changed over the years, but you're right. I mean, we've seen it. Like when we started out, we were 9 and 11. CDs were still like the only thing you could buy to get music. Like and like we saw the big change in first just illegal downloading, and then legal downloading, and then streaming, and how the industry has changed. And for us, I think the big constant, though, and James can comment on this too, but the big constant for us through the whole thing, the through line that hasn't changed, is our love of touring and getting out on the road and connecting with people directly. And I think that's one of the beautiful things, that no matter how the technology changes around us when it comes to how people listen to music at home, like there's still something so magical, special, and irreplaceable, even in this sort of live streaming video world we live in, where people actually go to a show and connect with the artist in person. And that's something we continue to see doesn't wane over time.
Yeah, and one thing I would say is I think that there's a lot of artistically there's a lot of blending of genres that has happened since we started playing music. In some ways, um, you know, younger kids and younger artists um, often would be in very specific lanes. I think, in my opinion, and a great example of that is things like country music and bluegrass music were very uncool. Is that the right way to put
Yeah,
it?
like I mean, at
It,
our
it, it was
school, like nobody
banjos,
it was like
the fact that we would say that we played fiddle or banjo wasn't really that accepted. And then as the blending of younger, well, millennials and now onto Gen Z, the access to a whole bunch of different genres and the exposure of a bunch of different genres, we've just seen not only artists blending a lot of genres, but just the people and the people listening to music sort of are exposed to different styles, and so are more open, I think, to things like country music. And country music has really uh, become as popular as it's ever been in the last few years as a result of that.
I recently interviewed a young kid from a Canadian kid who's based in Nashville now, Manny Blue, who's mixing country music and punk music, for God's sake. So yeah,
There you
absolutely.
yeah,
go.
yeah, good example.
Um, the
And TikTok, like all the mashups, right? Like
Yeah,
all the internet really did that. Like it became this whole thing where people go and find the things they like to hear, rather than be sort of like pushed to hear the things that
Yeah,
they,
and I think
right.
initially the iPod
Yeah, for
definitely
sure. Like
started
suddenly
that.
suddenly it's just blown wide open, and now with TikTok and duetting and all this stuff that goes on, people are mashing up things you never expected. And I think it's just continuing to trend toward people accepting wider genres. I mean, just good songs. That's it. Just is it a good song?
good
It
music
doesn't
is
matter
good
how
music.
it's
Yeah,
packaged.
exactly.
You know.
The tell me a little bit about the new song is called Something New. Doing well. Tell me a little bit about that song specifically.
Yeah. Well, so this is the beginning of a whole new project for us that we recorded last year with Tog Salter in Nashville. We had a small window of time between lockdowns where we were able to get down. We thought we were going to have to record a lot of the record at home. James has taken up audio production in a really big way at home. And so we were kind of just thinking, well, maybe we'll just have to send files back and forth. But thankfully, we had a window. We went down, we worked with Togs, and the collaboration in person really was special. One of the really cool things about Togs, and many of you would know Togs from his work with Hunter Hayes, but Walk Off the Earth, he's done all this stuff, and Scott Hellman, he's done a bunch for Washboard Union and Rec Laws, and sort of he's all over the map as far as genres are concerned. But Togs grew up listening to and loving bluegrass with his dad, and so we had this immediate bond with Togs on that heart and soul core of where we come from, but he's got such a special way of bringing that into a really specific current context that feels like a totally fresh turn for us. And that's exactly what this record feels like. Something, you know, about that feeling you get when you've been with somebody for so long and you think that there's nothing left to learn about this other person, but that they're always surprising you every day. And James and I were both married. James just got married in France 2 months ago. Finally, after like 3 or 4 postponements due to COVID, he was able to finally get married over in France to Kyla. And so it was, we both have people in our lives. Alex is my wife, James's wife, Kyla, have just been such supports for us, and we just keep learning new things about them every day. So that was a special thing about this song. But overall, and touching upon that collaboration with Togs, it does feel like something entirely new for us, but at the same time, it's a reach back to those days, in the Blue Ridge Mountains, making records down there with some of the great bluegrass, people that have been mentors in our lives.
When can we expect the rest of the EP? It's later this summer. Do you guys have a date at all?
We don't have a date yet, but it's coming, and we just but right now, I mean, the single is just getting going, and it's like taking off in a way we never imagined. It's really, really special. So like, just to, again, after having to take a pause, like just having new music out and being able to connect with people in a brand new way is super encouraging.
You guys have toured with, or not necessarily toured with, but opened shows for some pretty heavy hitters. You've opened for Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, Dixie Chicks, Luke Combs. Who is it that you guys were inspired by growing up? What was it that you guys were listening to? I mean, did you guys always know that? You said that you've listened to your parents and had the bluegrass connection there, but when you guys started doing this, was it, I want to be a rock star, or was it specific stuff that you guys were listening to?
Really, the big thing that John and I both listened to was brother acts. So there was Jim and Jesse McReynolds was a big bluegrass brother act that we listened to, but also, of course, you can't leave out the Lubin brothers, and of course the Everly brothers. It's sort of like a tier of popularity, if you will. Everly's being as known as any of them, but so that brother harmony thing was just so incredible to John and I at a young age, and of course harmonies being such a big part of bluegrass music, we could really relate to it, even if in some of those instances, at the time, those brother acts wouldn't be considered, tradition in a traditional style. That it would be more rock and roll and what have you. So that kind of through line of the brother harmony thing was what really was inspiring to John and I, and he and I both wanted to try to emulate that. And then the most natural way was to start singing and playing bluegrass and gospel music with our family. And once we got on stage and got the rush of being able to perform for people, that really we had us hooked. And it's evolved since then to once we started creating our own original music that took in inspiration from a bunch of things that we listened to that was completely outside of that traditional context. I mean, we always listened up to different styles of pop music, and we listened to all sorts of stuff growing up. And so that naturally, eventually, has led to us having a more commercial sound now. So that would be some of the big inspirations early on. And John, you can add to that.
Well, I think too, it doesn't matter where we derive inspiration from. We've certainly had it from different places all over our career, but we're just attracted to songs that have something to say, that really have something new to add to the conversation, I think. And as writers, James and I are always trying to think about that. We're trying to think about, okay, how can we try and say something that might be really familiar? And that's the beauty of country music, is there's so much harmony across different songs, you know, in the genre. Like the country music is the one genre where, or it's one of the few genres where it's a music genre, but it's also like a lifestyle too. Like country music lifestyle is really a tangible thing, right? So you kind of touch upon a lot of that when you write, but if there's a way that you can say it in a way that just kind of can you know, touch upon something that is very familiar but also hasn't been said as much, you know, like adding the conversation's key. So I think for James and I, you know, today we're listening to a lot of different great artists. I mean, we loved listening to the Zach Brown Band. I mean, we worked a lot with their people over the years, Keith Stegall and all of the writers down there. We've done a bunch of co-writes with Zach's people, and you know, Luke Combs, you said he's a great example. What a powerhouse writer, who is, you know, he's writing just like really solid country music. Like it is country as country gets, and he's saying some really cool things with that writing of his. And you know, Maren Morris is a great example. Phenomenal writer, and I mean the way that her music is produced is just so cool. So I mean, we're really attracted to that kind of thing. And we always hope as writers we're trying to add to that conversation as we can, about what it means to be a country music lover, and also to be you know, a country spirit. Whether you're in a city or you're out in a field somewhere, you know, that's the beauty of country music. It's that widely accessible now, and I think the genre has expanded in a way that it never has before.
It's hard to explain, but with country music, you can also, it's a little bit different writing style, because you can, again, it's hard to explain, but you can expand a little bit more on a story with a country song. You can delve a little bit more into detail with the lyrics and with the storytelling than you can with other genres.
It's all about, we always say it's always about tangibles, right? Like literally, it's like whether it's the, you know, it's the hubcaps on the wheel or the ashtray on the table, whatever it is. Like there's the tangibles, that, you know. So like our song Something New, or Sounds Good to Me, is a good example of that. We just literally, you know, pulling those ideas of simple little things in life that you identify with, and they're all tangible things that make you appreciate, you know, what's special in life, and what's, you know, maybe simple, but some of the most beautiful things in life. And Something New does that as well. So it's kind of like, you know, always trying to tap into those tangibles, so you can literally see them. And I think that's the cool thing too, when we sing these songs at, say, you know, Boots and Hearts Festival, or we, you know, sing them across the country, or even take them over to the UK and Israel where we toured, and Europe. People, you know, when you sing John Denver Country Roads, you know, anywhere in the world, like people identify with all those words in their own special way, no matter where you are in the world. And that's kind of what great country music can do, and what we're seeing country music do across the world wherever we play, whether it be Europe or the UK or all over North America. You know, it's really
Great
special.
Americana.
Yeah, and Great Americana
and
songs as well in general.
Gordon Lightfoot. I mean,
exact good
all,
example. You know, Gordon Lightfoot does the same thing in his way, right? And so that's why they're all kind of correlated under that umbrella.
Gord Downey. I mean, let's go back to Kingston, right? From
Great
where you guys are from.
example.
Gord Downey. Nobody tells a story quite like Gord Downey. I wish you guys the best of luck. I'm glad that the tour started off very well for you. Where to next? You said 17 cities. Is this all in the States? Or are you coming back home? I know you did a show in Kingston right before you left, but where does the next few weeks take you?
So this run is all in the U.S. and after Denver here, we're going to Kansas City to a great country bar, which I'm very excited to get to. Knuckleheads is the name of it. And they have amazing acts that go through there. And then we're heading east, and we're going to Virginia. We're going to, where else, John?
And the next one after that's Chattanooga, and we're Franklin, Tennessee. We're playing those. We're hitting some cool ones though too, like Boston, Philly, Pittsburgh. We're finishing off at Rockwood Music Hall in New York City, right downtown Manhattan, and so it'll be kind of going out with a bang at Rockwood, which is a pretty legendary venue. And then
I've
going home.
I've been there.
What's that?
I've been there. Actually, I've seen a show there, and it's a fantastic.
Oh, amazing! It's great, right? And so that's the cap off. Then we got to get home and cut the grass and get some stuff done around the house.
But we will be coming through Canada with the Something New tour. And John, you got talking about Sounds Good to Me. And you got my brain. Yeah. So with the Something New tour, we will be coming through Canada in the upcoming year here.
Yeah,
and then into the spring.
We're booking a tour right now for Canada, across Canada. For
hopefully,
the next year,
hopefully we can see some of your listeners at a show. We would appreciate the support somewhere.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely, we hope so. And again, best of luck with the EP when it does hit the shelves, or the streams, or wherever it happens to go. Best of luck. We got to get everything on vinyl. That's my idea. Is everything has to be released on vinyl.
Amen.
So push for that.
Awesome.
Thanks for being with us, guys, on the Record Player today. Really appreciate you taking the time out. Wish you the best of luck for the rest of the tour. Good success with the record, and the song is doing great. So thank you once again for joining us, John and James Abrams from the Abrams.
Thanks, Scott.
Take care, guys.